Good evening and welcome to 6 o'clock with SOC this Thursday, September 30th. Give me a second while I welcome our Spanish-speaking residents. Buenas tardes, gracias por estar con nosotros hoy en 6 p.m. con SOC. Les quiero compartir el número donde pueden tener acceso al programa en español. Denme un segundito aquí. Ok, ahora aparece en la pantalla el número que es 646-749-3122. Cuando le contestan su llamada, compartan el código que también aparece en la pantalla, que es 779-328-221. My name is Tammy Rivera. I'm the Executive Director and Lead Organizer for SOC, and we're so glad that you are with us this evening because we have a great topic and guest. Let's welcome once again a faithful participant and partner in our forum, Ed Fallone, the new chair of the Fire and Police Commission.
Hello, Tammy. It's great to be with you again.
I haven't seen you for a little bit, so it's good that you're back with us. You were very faithful during the pandemic, Ed, helping us to navigate all the legal maneuvering that took place with the census and the elections and the pandemic. And so I just want to thank you once again for being with us during that time. And now we see you in a new role, in a new body of decision-making and impact that we hope you will have equal success in helping the community navigate and understand and serving, and we're confident in that. Ed, share with folks a little bit about your background and then talk about the role of the chair of the FPC.
Okay, well, happy to do so. I've been around for quite some time as a professor at Marquette University Law School, teaching constitutional law and business law topics to the next generation of lawyers. But over the last 30 years, I've also been very involved in the Latino community here in Milwaukee and southeastern Wisconsin. My mother was a Mexican immigrant. She was born and raised in Mexico City. So I have very strong Latino roots. And so I've been involved in nonprofits like the Latino Community Center, which intervened with at-risk youth to try and keep them out of gangs. Centro Legal para los Derechos Humanos, providing low-cost lawyers to people in the community who have legal issues. And Catholic Charities, Immigration Legal Services, which provides lawyers for people in the immigrant community who are dealing with requests to stay in the United States. And so for me, this is sort of another opportunity to give back to the community, and that is to serve as the chair of the Fire and Police Commission of Milwaukee. The commission goes back to 1885. Wow. It was founded. It is one of the oldest oversight bodies for the police. And it was initially founded to take politics out of policing. Back in the late 1800s, police officers were city employees, and it was very common for mayors to use police jobs as a way of rewarding supporters. And the idea was, let's cut off the political aspect. And so in Milwaukee, the Fire and Police Commission is completely independent of the mayor, independent of the Common Council. We are a government body. We don't listen to anyone. And we are made up of 7 members right now who are all members of the community. And we represent the voice of the community. And we are actually one of the most powerful citizen oversight bodies for police and public safety in the country. We decide matters of promotion, hiring, discipline, what the policies of policing are, what police can and cannot do. And amongst our many functions, one is we hire the Milwaukee police chief, and that's our job. And so we have great authority, great power, and yet we are citizens from the community. We don't run for office. We're not politicians. And so I think the residents of Milwaukee should be very proud of the fact that we have this body, and that all across the country right now, there are individuals who march in the street demanding to have more control over police. In Milwaukee, we have that. We have the Fire and Police Commission. We already have that power. So we are very fortunate.
That's great to hear. Now let's clarify something, because I believe I know what you intended to say, but I don't want any opportunity for any gray space there. When you said we don't listen to anybody, my assumption there, following what you had said previously, is you don't get influenced by the mayor or the common council.
Well, that's what I meant. I mean, obviously, the Fire and Police Commission wants to hear from the public, and we want to listen to the public. But if the mayor of Milwaukee called me up and said, Ed, I want the Fire and Police Commission to do something, I would very politely say, well, Tom, we don't answer to you. We are independent. And that's what I meant to say. We are an independent body that has full oversight over the police and the fire department in the city of Milwaukee.
That's great. Just wanted to clarify, because I know your intent and I didn't want it to get misunderstood. Ed, so let's talk about some areas where people have had concern, which is, one, the influence the mayor has with appointing people to the Fire and Police Commission. But once they're there, that influence doesn't have to be present. Mm-hmm. But he does appoint. He gets recommendations, applications, then he appoints, and then amongst you all, you elect who's going to be in leadership, correct?
That's right. We have, under the law, we could have up to 9 members. At the moment, we have 7, and they are all nominated by the mayor of the city of Milwaukee and then confirmed by the common council. So the alderpersons vote to confirm. And I think Tom Barrett is to be applauded. He has, I think, tried to have appointments to the commission that reflect a variety of communities in our city and a variety of experiences. And so we have commissioners who come with experience with nonprofits that serve the Latino community, that serve the African American community. We have a pastor who's a member of the commission, a commissioner with experience from the Milwaukee School Board. So there are a variety of experiences represented. And the idea is that everyone should have a voice. Everyone should have a say in public safety and policing. And so I think that right now I'm very happy with the membership of the commission. I'd like to see 2 more commissioners added. And then the commissioners decide who will be the chair. And I was appointed in July and confirmed and elected to be the chair and to lead the commission this past July.
Sounds good. Let's talk now about the process of hiring the new police chief, so people understand what's going on and what's before us.
Yeah. Well, people may recall that we have had an acting police chief, a temporary police chief, for over 1.5 years now. Before I joined the Fire and Police Commission, the commission took action to demote the then permanent chief, Morales, and that got tied up in a lot of lawsuits and litigation and fighting. And in the meantime, we've been proceeding with temporary or acting chiefs. And so I think job 1 for the commission right now is to choose a permanent police chief. We need to have stability in the police force. And in particular, if the commission is going to succeed in some of the reforms and changes that we want to see happen to policing in our city, we need to have stability and a permanent chief at the very top. And so right now, we have focused on the acting chief, Jeffrey Norman, as our sole candidate, and we are giving him a chance to win the job. We are not going to hand the job to him. He has to win it. And so we are going to interview him in our public meeting, October 7th. We will ask questions. We'll hear about his philosophy of community-based policing, his plans for addressing gun violence and other issues we face. We'll allow him the opportunity to present his views. There will then be 3 listening sessions where members of the community can interact with the chief. We don't have quite all the details arranged yet, but we plan October 23rd, which is a Saturday, and October 30th, another Saturday, that there will be in-person sessions where members of the community can attend and ask questions of the acting chief, Jeff Norman, and hear for themselves what he has to say about his plans. And then if the commission is satisfied that he is the right person to lead us permanently, then we will then make a decision to extend the permanent offer to him. If we are not satisfied, if we do not agree with the philosophy that he expresses, then we will open up the search and look elsewhere. But we want to give him the opportunity to win the position in the first instance. Jeffrey Norman has been in this acting chief position for a while. I think many people in the community think that he has already begun some very important reforms. And so we want to make sure that, if we have a good candidate already here in Milwaukee, that we don't overlook him. And so that's why we focused on him in the beginning here.
If everything goes well with interim chief Norman, what's the earliest a decision could be made?
Well, I think the earliest a permanent offer would be extended would be the first week of November. And this does seem like a significant time lag, but I do want to emphasize, I think it's important for the Fire and Police Commission to involve the public in this process. We want to have a public meeting where we ask questions of the acting chief and he answers those questions. And member of the community can hear that and can understand what are the issues that we face. And we want to take the time to allow for community meetings. So members of the community can actually interact with the acting chief. And that just takes some time. But I think there's a real benefit if everyone in the community understands the changes, the reforms that the Milwaukee Police Department is implementing, then we become partners in the process. Because my philosophy is it's not a question of us versus them. It's not a question of the Fire and Police Commission versus the police officers. We're all united in the same goal, which is to make Milwaukee a safe place to raise your family and to live. And we should all be on the same page. We should all share the same objectives, the same strategies for combating crime. And so this is really the reason why the process is being stretched out a little bit, is so that everyone can come onto the same page, everyone can understand our common goals. And then going forward, I think we will all be united. And that is my hope.
That's great. Now let's tackle the last topic of the day, which is the Community Justice Institute issued their report after analyzing the data from Milwaukee Police Department and reviewing the requirements of the ACLU settlement on the stop and frisk issue with the police. And we received that report in our SOC is a member of the Community Collaborative Commission and has been since inception. And so we heard not an encouraging report by CGI on the lack of progress what is the FPC's role when it comes to the settlement, and what is the FPC's responsibility now that that report has been issued?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a very important question. And forgive me if I back up a little bit and give some context, so everyone understands what we're talking about. I apologize for those of you who already know. So there was a lawsuit brought against the city of Milwaukee and the Milwaukee Police and the Fire and Police Commission, alleging that police officers in Milwaukee were not following the Constitution when they stopped to question or frisk or even arrest people on the street. Under our Constitution, the police can't just stop you for no reason. If you're walking down the street, they can stop and ask you questions or even potentially frisk you to see if you have weapons or contraband, only if they have a reasonable suspicion, some reasonable grounds to stop you. And the allegation in the lawsuit was that the Milwaukee police were not doing that, and that in our Black and brown communities in particular, they were not doing that. Now, the city and the police department and the Fire and Police Commission did not admit anything, but they agreed in this settlement that going forward, we would put in place a system to document every interaction between police officers and our residents, so that the police officer would have to document, why are you stopping this person? What is the reason for your suspicion? And also that the police officer would have to turn on their body camera so that we would have film footage that could be used to verify what the police officer said in the documentation is really what happened, because we have the footage to show it. So the settlement was an agreement that without regard to what happened in the past, going forward, we would put in place these systems. And I think that this is really the very first priority of the Fire and Police Commission, is to make sure that these systems are in place. And absolutely, I can tell you, every single member of the commission is committed to this. Now, it is a very large culture change for the Milwaukee Police. You have officers who are being asked to do things very differently in terms of documenting and filling out forms for every single interaction with members of the public. It's also difficult on a technological basis to create this database that covers every single interaction. And we are committed to doing that in the settlement, and we are committed to doing that even without regards to the lawsuit. We would want this to be in place. And so we are implementing it. And so you referred to the CJI report, which is sort of an outsider's review of how good a job are we doing in getting to this result. And I'll be honest, yes, the outside review is that we are a little bit behind where we should be. I will say that the Fire and Police Commission is doing everything that we promised to do. And it's really the Milwaukee Police Department that we would like to see further along in implementing this change. And so part of our process in interviewing Jeff Norman for the permanent police chief job is going to be to assure ourselves that he is committed as a permanent police chief to moving this along. And I think that in general, the Fire and Police Commission is very committed to moving this along. And we are aware that there's a lot of work left to be done. But we are going to get there. This is essential. It is absolutely essential that our police do not stop, question, frisk, or arrest any resident unless they have reasonable grounds to do so. And so that's where we're headed. I wish we would be moving a little more quickly, but we know where we're going to get to, and we will get there as soon as possible.
I'll share with folks as well that the Community Collaborative Commission was named by the ACLU as the oversight body, the civilian oversight body of this settlement as well. And so that was an added responsibility to our committee, and that's why we're a little more involved. And then I'll share some of the findings with folks from the ACLU announcement about the CGI report. And so the report revealed that 87%, according to the ACLU, 87% of risk in the sample that they looked at, conducted in the second half of 2020, were made without showing there was reasonable suspicion that a person was armed and dangerous, and then and that nearly 38% of the pedestrians stopped by MPD in the same sample failed to show reasonable suspicion of criminal activity. And then, speaking of the question of people of color in the city, that Black people were 60% of those stopped, and 86% of those frisks, and that they issued that it was significant non-compliance, and that it was also the same for the first half in 2020. And so the other piece of information for people to know is we're in year 3 of a 5-year compliance program. And so the other thing we're doing in the CCC is examining the language to see what seems to be likely that the settlement might have to be renegotiated and extended. And then will you share, Ed, the process for people to submit questions during the listening session so that people can prepare, and let's share those dates again, and then share how people can get in contact with you at the FPC.
Sure. First, let me just say in response to your very accurate description of where we're at in terms of complying with the requirements of the Collins settlement. What we are trying to achieve is a system where every single interaction, every stop between a police officer and a member of the public is documented, and the officer explains the reason why there was a stop. And then also that we have auditing so that under the Fire and Police Commission, we can take samples of different days and different communities and review and say, oh, okay, was there the documentation created, and did the documentation demonstrate that there was a reason for the stop? And then if after that we see there are certain officers that are either not documenting what they're doing or that did not have a reasonable reason to stop people, then you can discipline and retrain those officers so that they won't in the future continue that practice. So that's what we're moving towards. And yes, it's very true. At this moment, we don't have 100% of the documentation being created, but we're moving in that direction. And so we're hoping to get to a point where we can assure ourselves that when the police stop people, they're not stopping them because of their race. They're not stopping them because of their ethnicity. They're only stopping them because there's an objective, reasonable reason to stop and question them. And we're definitely moving in that direction. We are going to be asking Acting Chief Jeff Norman about the plans for ensuring progress in this way. We're going to ask Acting Chief Norman about his vision for policing, how the police should work with members of the community, and a variety of other topics. And so on October 7th, the Fire and Police Commission will be conducting a public meeting that can be viewed on Channel 25, which is the Milwaukee City Government channel. And then the general public will have the opportunity to attend 2 in-person sessions where they can ask questions themselves. And I believe we don't have quite final arrangements yet. We're still trying to finalize it. But I believe that the first listening session where they can ask questions will be Saturday, October 23rd, most likely in the morning. And the second will be Saturday, October 30th, also in the morning. And there will be more information released about the location and the exact time when members of the public can come. And there will be a third session which will be conducted virtually. So for those individuals who don't feel comfortable going in person still because of the COVID-19 pandemic, there will also be a virtual listening session where you can attend online and potentially ask your questions online. All of the final details should be released hopefully within the next week. And I will be communicating with Tammy and other community organizations to spread the word as soon as we have the final information.
And we'll make sure to do that. I'm going to check and see if we have any questions before we conclude. In the meantime, will you share how people can contact the FPC?
People can contact the FPC. We are on the Milwaukee City website, milwaukee.gov, and you can get contact information for all 7 of the commissioners there. And I'll share that my email, my official email is, I'll even write it in chat for you.
Oh, yeah, we'll share it in comments.
Yeah, Fallone, the letter EFALLON at milwaukee.gov. And you can, I just shared that in the chat. I don't know if anyone sees it other than Tammy, but she can forward it.
Yeah, the production will put it in comments for us.
Okay, great. And you can email me directly with any issues you have about public safety, either the fire department or the police department. And again, if you go to the Milwaukee City government webpage, the Fire and Police Commission has its own page, and all 7 of the commissioners are listed as contact information as well. And we do want to hear from the public. We are your voice when it comes to public safety. And so I encourage individuals to reach out to us if you have issues with our fire or police department.
Thank you, Ed. Let's check the comments before we let you go. Here we go. That's great. We appreciate the attention to the community involvement. What happens when certain officers don't follow that protocol of proper reporting, documenting, or having their body cameras on? Is there some sort of discipline?
Yes, we have 2 routes, 2 different paths of discipline for our police. The first route would be for the chief of police to discipline officers who do not follow correct policy. And then those officers would be perhaps, I suppose the least significant discipline would be to be sent for retraining. And then more serious discipline would be to be suspended for a period of days without pay. And the most significant discipline would be actually to be demoted or fired. And then those officers who are disciplined for failing to follow policies do have the right to appeal to the Fire and Police Commission. And we oversee many appeals every year of police officers who have been disciplined by the chief. But there's also a second path, and that is that the Fire and Police Commission also receives direct complaints from the public. And we will take complaints directly from the public about police officer misconduct, and we will investigate it ourselves. And we can issue discipline ourselves. So I think it's important in the hiring process that we make sure whoever we hire as the new permanent police chief is committed to requiring compliance and following of policies and is willing to discipline officers who don't comply. I think that's an important part of our hiring process, and it will be part of our oversight process going forward to make sure that officers who don't follow the rules do face discipline.
And if folks want to file a complaint, they can, how can they do that?
Well, again, if you go to milwaukee.gov, to the Fire and Police Commission website, you will see there is a heading for citizen complaints, and it will take you a link that will enable you to make a complaint right on the website.
Great. We have one last question. Are there any conversations regarding ending qualified immunity for accountability purposes with the FPC and MPD by chance? Thank you for your time.
Qualified immunity is a judge-created doctrine that makes it very difficult to file a lawsuit against a police officer for misconduct in their official actions and hold the police officer financially responsible. And I think that there are a variety of ways to try and reform this. I certainly, in my law professor role, have been very critical of qualified immunity. One way to make sure police officers respect the civil rights and constitutional rights of our residents is to hold them responsible when they don't. And qualified immunity is sort of a pass that allows them to avoid accountability. I think that probably the best way to end qualified immunity would be through legislation at our state legislature level, or alternatively, Congress could potentially pass a law at the national level. I think the Fire and Police Commission, our role is perhaps not, we don't have quite the comprehensive authority because our authority is over the city of Milwaukee. And so we can't do anything about police officers elsewhere in the state of Wisconsin. And I think with qualified immunity, what you really should have is either a statewide or a nationwide solution. And that would probably be the best approach, in my opinion.
Well, thank you for your time, Ed. We appreciate your service in the community and being with us. We've posted all the links for folks where they can stay tuned to what's happening with the listening sessions, and we'll share that where they can file the complaints. We've shared that as well, and where they can contact the FPC. Thank you, and have a safe evening.
Thank you, Tammy, and thank you for your role in publicizing our efforts and helping us to educate the community. So thank you so much.
All right, have a good night.
Thanks.
All right, folks, next we're going to move to our weekly COVID information for you.
The Delta variant is a little different than the original COVID-19 in that it's more transmissible. So that is what is truly concerning. For fully vaccinated individuals, we're seeing that those individuals that break through are not experiencing severe disease, are not being hospitalized. For individuals that are not vaccinated at all, that is of high concern. We're thinking about our own health, but we also have to think about our community, those individuals that are close to us, our family, our friends, our community, our neighbors. Those individuals may have underlying medical conditions that they are aware of, and there are also individuals that may have underlying medical conditions that they are not aware of. The Delta variant is highly transmissible, and when we compare that to the Alpha variant, the one that was first observed in the UK, that tended to be a little bit more virulent. However, the Delta variant, being more transmissible, is making up the largest number of cases in the UK. In the United States, it's making up over 50% of all of our new cases. Why we should be concerned is that in some communities, some states, it's making up over 80%. And in terms of hospitalizations of individuals with severe disease, it can and has been up to about 99% attributed to the Delta variant. These deaths, hospitalizations, at this point with the vaccines, they are preventable. Variants are really smart, and they try to survive, and they evolve. And that's why the vaccination is so important, because we do want to prevent new variants that get smarter. Vaccinations will slow down the propagation of new variants, and that's why it is important. The Delta variant is highly transmissible. What we do not want to see is a variant that is highly virulent, that would cause severe disease, hospitalization, and death. For some communities, in particular rural and semi-rural, that do not have easy access to clinics, medical hospitals, that have the resources to take on and treat the patients, these are the communities that we really need to worry about.
Super important information to help us understand what we're currently dealing with in terms of COVID. So I hope that was as interesting to you as it was to me. Folks, Tuesday was voter registration day, National Voter Registration Day. And so we want to make sure that you all have an opportunity to understand why that's important and how to do that. So we have an update on our civic activities, in particular National Voter Registration Day and week.
National Voter Registration Day is a nonpartisan civic holiday dedicated to making sure every American uses their precious right to vote. Since it was created in 2012, it has always been celebrated on the fourth Tuesday of September.
Did you know that 1 in 4 eligible Americans are not registered to vote? Many people don't know that you need to register before you can vote, and in several states, you need to register several weeks in advance.
So, why do you vote?
I vote because it's my civic duty and because I care about my community and my country.
I vote for the millions of people who are disenfranchised and can't vote.
I vote because I want my representatives to fight for issues that I care about.
I vote to create a brighter future for my generation and the next generation.
National Voter Registration Day is a day of civic unity. It's an opportunity to set aside differences, enjoy the rights we all share as Americans, and celebrate our unique form of democracy.
So on this National Voter Registration Day, get registered or help someone get registered at voteusc.com.
Participate in our democracy and make your voice heard.
Is your voter registration up to date? Even if you voted before, from time to time, states and local election offices purge their voter registration lists. They delete people who have moved or who haven't voted in a long time. And sometimes there's just an error. That's why it's a good idea to check your registration now to make sure you can vote on Election Day. Start by finding your local election office at usa.gov/election-office. You may be able to check your registration online, by phone, by mail, or in person. When you're reviewing your voter registration, here's what to look for. Your name is correct and still on the voter list. Your address and party affiliation are up to date. And you're going to the correct polling place. If you can't find your name on the voter list or your information is wrong, contact your election office right away to correct the error. Did you recently move or change your name? Depending on where you live, you'll need to update your registration or re-register. Ask your election office. Sometimes just moving a few blocks away can actually change your polling place. And check your registration if you have not voted in the past couple of elections, or you didn't mail back a postcard from your election office. They might consider you inactive and purge your name from the voter registration list. Don't wait until Election Day to discover you can't vote. Check your registration now and learn more about voting at usa.gov/voting.
And if you need some help figuring all of that out, we're here for you. You can call us at our phone number, 414-672-8090. You can visit our website, and you can email us at soc@socmilwaukee.org. We're not quite in person yet. We hope to sometime when things are very safe in the community. But we've been here for you in every other way, and we really do look forward to seeing you in person. All right, folks, if any of what we offered to you today was of service, helpful, how about you repay the gratitude in filling out a survey that just has 3 questions. Our survey announcement is next, and we ask that you please take just maybe it takes 2 minutes, 3 minutes to fill that out to help us understand how we can do things better or what we're doing right. So we'll have an announcement about that, and then we're happy to wish you a safe and good evening.
Has this live forum been informative and useful to you? What part of the forum could be improved or changed to make it better? Please take a quick survey that's located in the comments section so that we can keep 3 o'clock with SOC going for residents. Thank you for tuning in.